Audit committees annually evaluate their company's independent auditor, typically just ahead of engaging that auditor for the following year, which happens right after the prior year's audit is over. Most companies then ask shareholders, or almost all companies, then ask shareholders to ratify the auditor selection at the upcoming annual shareholders meeting. Evaluation is a big responsibility for the audit committee, and it's not as easy to do as you might think. Today on Zippy Point. I'm Brock Romanek, and I'm a big fan of yous. So auditor evaluations are conducted annually so that the audit committee can comply with their stock exchange listing standards, which states that the audit committees have the responsibility to appoint, compensate, retain, and oversee the auditor. And they also do this because investors expect it. There tends to be more disclosure these days in the proxies about how the audit committees are evaluating the auditors, what the process is. And then in recent years, the debate about forcing companies to rotate their auditors has ratcheted up the scrutiny on auditor evaluations. Mandatory auditor rotation. Some companies have had the same auditor for over 100 years. Here are 5 things about the evaluation of auditors you should know. 1, not realistic to expect a real evaluation. 2, check the auditor's overall reputation. 3, informal and not a deep dive. 4, be friendly but not too friendly. 5, we're stuck with what we got. 1, not realistic to expect a real evaluation. So I'm just going to start by saying that out loud. Auditor evaluations are a sham. It's simply not realistic that a group of individuals that meet a handful of times per year and they have a lot on their plate to possibly know what's really going on inside a company, particularly when it comes to monitoring the auditor. So despite what all the literature says out there about auditor evaluations, know that it's easier said than done. This is a tough one. Audit committees are expected to be told if there's a problem, not the other way around. It's management that's in a far better position to know the day-to-day details that would enable them to make a proper evaluation. Audit committees are better suited to evaluate the quality of communications made to it by the auditor. That's about it. 2, check the auditor's overall reputation. Having said all that, audit committees can track the news and see if their auditor has gotten into hot water, as an enterprise. That's not too difficult to track, as the SEC occasionally brings big actions against the Big Four, auditor independence issues emanating from PCOB inspections, lawsuits against auditors. You'll see headlines for all these that jump out at you all the time. So be vigilant about the overall reputation of your auditor. Ask for an explanation if issues arise. Dig into what controls they have to fix the problems that come to the fore for them. 3, informal and not a deep dive. So audit committees just don't do a deep dive here. Like I said before, they simply don't have the information to do the job. They don't want to rock the boat too. That's a factor. The auditor evaluations just tend to be weak. I should clarify that it's not that I believe independent auditors aren't doing a decent job overall. They are. I'm just critical of the evaluation process itself. It's rather routine. There's no prescribed form of evaluation. They tend to be informal, right? Because of the nature of the process. So you speak to the engagement partner, you're going to talk to the CFO and the controller. You're not really kicking the tires up and down the full audit chain. The evaluation process only tends to produce interesting results if there's a constant friction between the audit committee and the auditors, or if the committee just doesn't like how high their audit fees have gotten. 4, be friendly, but not too friendly. So boards must understand the function of an auditor. They're there to do their job, not to be your friend, not to be a client, really. They're there to be independent. And independence means that they feel safe so they can speak up and tell you the truth. You want it to keep a free and open discussion going so that that's not overly friendly, yet comfortable enough so that if the auditors catch something early, a bad apple in your company or an accounting method that you're using that can be problematic, they feel like they can raise that without you feeling like your feathers got ruffled. And you should want that. It's better to bring up the small stuff and handle it now rather than let it fester and grow into something bigger that eventually leads you to a drastic solution, maybe even one of switching your auditors. So you need synergy between your company and your auditor, and this honesty should be a two-way street. Evaluate the lead engagement partner in the context of their role. How did they perform? Be honest and tell them what you really think. To the extent a board can tell, ask how rigorous is the audit? Is it grounded in reality? Are the auditors people good, cost effective? Are they sending a kid over to read your minute books? Are they generating unproductive work for your people, for the company? up and down the chain. How's that working relationship between our people and theirs? I'll end this point with a note that the Center for Audit Quality has posted on its website an evaluation tool that companies can use for guidance in drafting their company-tailored questionnaires and surveys. 5, we're stuck with what we got. There might be a better way to evaluate the auditor, but I'm not sure what that would look like. I don't believe that mandatory rotation is the answer either. That is a seismic change, very expensive to do. You're going to lose a lot of institutional knowledge, so you need a very good reason if you're going to change your auditor. And don't change just because it's been 100 years since you last made a change just to make the change. Make the switch based on real reasons. Doing it just because a rule requires it or your investors are really pushing for it would not be a good reason, in my opinion, in my book. So I have a separate vid guide about the Form 8K you need to file in the proxy disclosure if you do change your auditors, links to which are beneath this video.